No problem. So we're starting our part two. It's a two-part series. So Ryan, the NFL expert, picking expert, why don't you just give us a breakdown of the game? Let's hear it from you. How you think this is going to go down? Is this going to be a Patriots comeback? How's it going to go down? Just give me your thoughts.
Well, I should say that I do live in the region, Philadelphia, but I am not a native of this area as Brian and Dan are. I'm a Bears fan. Out of all due fairness, I have to mention that. So
I'm sorry.
but I am rooting for the Eagles because they're the hometown team. Just a couple of things to take into consideration for this game. New England's been in 7 Super Bowls in the Tom Brady era. They've actually only covered 3 times. Back against the Rams, they were an underdog, huge underdog against the Rams. Seattle, they were a 1-point underdog, and against Atlanta, they were favored by 3. And those are the only 3 times they've covered. They played the Eagles. The last time they played the Eagles, they only beat them 24-1 in the McNabb era. Yet they were a 7-point favorite. I'm looking at the game kind of to shake out like that, except maybe they'll be able to run the Eagles will be able to run a 2-minute offense better under Doug Peterson than Andy Reid, who seems to not know how to run a 2-minute offense still to this date, despite the fact that Peterson is a disciple of Andy Reid. If you remember Andy Reid, when he came here, his first pick was Donovan McNabb. I think he took him with a number 2 overall pick. And they signed Doug Peterson to be the starting quarterback, and McNabb was going to back him up for a couple games. And then they brought McNabb in. So, Dougie Fresh didn't lead the Eagles for very long, but he's done a much better job as their coach than he did as a quarterback for them. In addition, you got to look too. Of the last 10 Super Bowls, 8 underdogs have covered out of the last 10. Let's see. One of the favorites. Like I said, New England was a favorite last year, and they won. They're one of the 2. I forget who the other team was the other favorite that actually covered. So the spread is 4.5. I mean, that's it's less than a touchdown. So I'm looking at it to be around. They've got to keep it. They've got to keep the score close. Not try to get too far behind. New England has known to come back from deficits. So. The Eagles have to, if they get out to an early lead, they need to, put the foot to the pedal and crush them. Because clearly you saw what New England did to Jacksonville. Came back, I think they were 10 points down, and they came back to win that game.
Well, I saw what they did to Atlanta in the last Super Bowl as well.
Did you see that they have in their most recent ring? They were down 28-3. There are 283 diamonds in the Super Bowl ring. Arthur Blank isn't too happy with that, but if they would have run the ball in the second half, maybe it would have been a different story.
I was losing the bet, and I fell asleep. I had $100 on the Patriots. I was losing the bet, and I just said, "Fuck it, I'm going to sleep." And then I woke up, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought I had died and gone to heaven. I said,
"Yeah, they're amazing."
Yeah, I slept through all that. I went to bed. They were down 28-3, and I just fell asleep. I said, "Heck with this! I just lost my $100." And I woke up, and I thought I was dreaming, or I died and gone to heaven, or something. But that's crazy. That's what I say. It doesn't matter. What you have to realize, it doesn't matter what the Patriots, what the score is in the fourth quarter. It does not matter.
One of the keys to the game. I was looking at some of the stats. The Eagles defense, they've only given in the playoffs. Granted, they've only played 2 games. They've only given up 17 points in 2 games, of offense. Yet they've scored 26.5. The Patriots, conversely, are actually allowing 17 points a game, but they're scoring 29.5. So if they score their averages, if it's a 29, obviously you can't score a half point. But if it's 29.5 to 26.5, the Eagles, the Eagles covered. It's only a 3-point swing there. So, Regardless of what the final outcome is, the 4.5 points definitely favors the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, and the hippo at the Cincinnati Zoo picked the Eagles. And I've heard a number of other animals have picked the Eagles. I think a giraffe, possibly.
Yeah, a giraffe. There is a giraffe that does it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a hippo, a giraffe so far has picked the Eagles. How do you think Foles is going to hold up against Brady?
I mean, I almost wonder if at the end of the season they weren't really throwing much, having him show the entire playbook with him, kind of trying to play it a little coy, maybe almost pulling like a Belichick, keeping some stuff in your back pocket, because they didn't play all that great the last, when he took over, when Wentz went down, but clearly he showed against Minnesota, and you can't sleep on Minnesota's defense was pretty good too. I think Minnesota's defense, I was looking that up. They were I think one of the top, scoring defenses. They only let up about, I think it was 17 points a game, I think is what I saw. So they were fantastic all year, and Philadelphia just, it seemed like almost like they scored at will. Plus they won the turnover margin there. They did score. The Eagles did score that defensive touchdown. I can't remember. I can't remember if it was a pick six or a fumble recovery for a touchdown. It was one or the other. So
who's gonna be charged with butt-heading Gronk?
You know what? They should put a scrub out there to do that, because that worked really well for Jacksonville, which is a shame. He's definitely he's a difference maker in that game. I don't think the game would have been so close against Jacksonville if Gronk had been in there. I did use him as my tight end in fantasy football, which I won this year. So he is a difference maker. Yeah, he's a difference maker, and according to his dad, he's good to go, and he's getting ready to dance. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
My old basketball coach used to have a guy on the bench, and he couldn't. All he could shoot was bricks. But then, if we were losing, he'd say, "Julio, go in and foul somebody." And you need one of those guys. Like, we need a guy to, jump at Brady's knees, and then we need another guy to butthead Gronk, and then the rest will be history.
Right. Well, yeah, because Brady's got his backup is Brian Hoyer, so they brought him in after he got released by, I believe, San Fran. I think after San Fran traded for Jimmy Garoppolo.
I don't want to say anything, but I don't think Belichick was happy that their backup went to the Chiefs. I think that they had that depth, and now they're only one layer deep. And Brady had the hand injury, and I'm not saying they're going to go head hunting for Brady, but God forbid if he goes out of the game. I mean, that's huge.
If he goes out of the game, the game's over. Game's over. Without Brady, they have no chance, none whatsoever. Right.
But
that's where Philadelphia got lucky, because Nick Foles is a competent backup. So that's where they got lucky. If they had to count on the third string guy, who's a young guy they picked up and stashed him and put him on the roster, he's young, but he's inexperienced, whereas Foles has quite a bit of experience.
I couldn't believe – I didn't realize how much of a beast Foles is. He's like 6'5" or something. I mean, he's huge, right?
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's definitely a big guy. He can take a hit.
But you have basically, Gronkowski's been cleared. What I'm seeing is the number one offensive threats for the Eagles are rushing Ajayi, I don't know how to say that, and Ertz. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, Jay Ajayi, they picked him up in that trade from Miami during before the trade deadline. He's a pretty good rusher. He's faced, coming from Miami, he used to face New England twice a year. So so he's familiar with what they can do with him. You can't also sleep on LeGarrette Blount if they get goal line opportunities. LeGarrette Blount actually won a Super Bowl with New England, I believe, last year. He won the Super Bowl with them, and then signed as a free agent with the Eagles this year. And Ertz is just an amazing tight end. He's coming around and playing really well. He's probably their most consistent offensive weapon in the passing game. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey is great when the ball gets to him. Torrey Smith is to me is a one-trick pony. You throw him the deep ball, he either catches it or drops it. Like he dropped the one, the one in the game against Minnesota. But then he made up for it later in the game, and I believe he made a good catch. He scored a touchdown. So the Eagles, they're ready. They're healthy. They're healthy, ready to go. They're missing Pro Bowl offensive lineman, if memory serves me correctly, Jason Peters. I think he was done for the season, but the guy they had take his place has played phenomenal since he went down. So the line is healthy, and all their key skills positions are good to go.
So you're saying that Foles can spread the ball around like we know Brady does. I mean, The guy that won the Super Bowl for him against Atlanta was practically an unknown, right?
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. Usually you have a guy who comes out of nowhere and just, shines for one game. Does it, and somebody you're not planning for. Expect the unexpected, I think, is the way to look at it with these big games. Because if there's a trick play in the book, this is the time you're going to bring it out if you haven't used it already this season.
So you betting any money?
I'm playing some daily fantasy stuff since we can't officially do sports, since sports betting is not legal here. But I can do daily fantasy, and we have some block pools in the office, which I'd like to point out that Brian didn't participate in.
I'm betting $11 on the Eagles, so I will win 10 when the Eagles win. So here's to you. Here's a cool Yuengling lager to you Eagles fans. And did you board up your windows yet in case they win?
You know what? The last time in the NFC Championship game, the people in my neighborhood were setting off fireworks in the second quarter. So I expect if it's anything like it was when the Phillies won the 2008 World Series, my neighborhood, I live in a suburban neighborhood, and I expect them to be screaming in the streets. So hopefully I'll survive.
Did they put any more Crisco on the light poles?
No, somebody said they were going to be using gear oil to prevent people from doing that. But I think it was Brian was telling me, I think Lane Johnson said, Crisco, oil, whatever, they might do it on the poles, but they're going to need to put it on the buildings too, because if they win the Super Bowl, people are going to be climbing the buildings.
I think if you put Velcro on the poles and gave Brian a Velcro suit, I don't think he could still climb the pole.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, so I don't think Brian's going to be scaling any poles.
He's ready. He's not nailing anything. He won't be nailing anything. So he's going to be hanging out with Dan watching the game. So he's either going to be crying going home or celebrating and not coming into work the next day.
Well, I hope the Eagles fans have a chance to live up to their reputation as the greatest fans in the world. So I'm looking forward to that.
And it's supposed to rain, so that might slow a little bit down some people, but probably not too much. So I think they'll be okay regardless.
All right. Well, this could be the end of the Brady legacy here. So I think you would suck at me in saying on 3, 1, 2, 3, go.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. All right, Ryan, thanks for standing in. I hope to have you on the show more often.
All right. Thanks a lot, Scott. Take care.
You too. Bye.